Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online build video with me, Sherman. Today we are taking a look at a new build. Something a little different than what I've done in the past with the Warden as a priest or a healer type character. And I think it works out really well. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Nature's Guardian, or the Nature's Guide. So the Nature's Guide is a Warden build. You're a Wood Elf. It is a Magicka-based character, so you can use other races, but I felt the Wood Elf kind of fit it better, and really plays into that whole idea of, like, I'm a nature's guide. I guide people through the land and everything like that. It also has a theme behind it. It's actually based off of a person, or a character from another storyline. Some of you might have heard of it. It is called Critical Role. And there's a person named Keyleth. She's a druid. And I tried to do my best with recreating that kind of character in ESO. It's not perfect, but it's the best I can do. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. As you can see, we are a Wood Elf Warden. We have 64 points of Magicka. Our max magic is coming in at 29,951. We also have a max health of 23,813 and 17,702 stamina. Our magic recovery is coming in at 17,982. Our stamina recovery is coming in at 1037, and our spell damage is 2868 with a 33% spell critical and 6k penetration. Weapon damage little bit lower than the spell damage, which is fine. Weapon crit, of course, 37 or 33, and then the physical pin is 6k as well. Spell resist 14k, physical resist 11. This is pretty standard for some of the classes that don't have extra spell resistance, so it's not too bad. Moving on, we are using the Thief of Mundus Stone. You're going to find use this a lot for a lot of builds. We also run the Eternal Guardian and Witchmother's Potent Brew. Alright. Moving on to equipment and stuff. When it comes to food and drinks for this particular type of build, you can use any really magic-based food, like the Clockwork Citrus Fillet, really good for if you're doing dungeons and trials. The Witchmother's Potent Brew is really good, just overall food for this build, and you can pick it up pretty cheap, or you can find the recipes during the Halloween event and you can craft it yourself. And last but not least, if you're really wanting to go all out with this build, Longfin Pasty and Melon Sauce. And I say all out, this gives you health, max magicka, and max stamina, so it gives you more resources for dodge rolling and blocking on the back bar, and breaking free. So it's really good for that, and it gives you a little bit more magicka and health than the Witchmother's Potent Brew does, and also the Citrus Fillet. So it's really up to the person playing the build what you want to use. When it comes to potions, Spell Power Pots are going to be your best bet. These are the ones that give you the Magicka Return, the Magicka Recovery, Major Sorcery, and Major Prophecy. And then if you want to go, like I said, all out, Tripods is also another really good one because it gives you recovery in everything. So it's like a potion of recover everything. So really good for that. Alright, now, looking at the gear sets, I tried to think of stuff that would fit this build that would be very good for not just a healer, but somebody who plays using heals and other abilities and makes it work to their advantage. So this is a Warden. So starting off, we have Chokethorns, really good set with the 1-piece mag recovery, 2-piece. When you use a heal ability, you have a 33% chance to summon a Strangler Sapling that heals you or an ally for 21,000 health. Over 6 seconds, the effect can occur once every 10 seconds, and it scales off your max magicka or stamina. In this case, our max magicka. It's a pretty good backup heal for the way this build plays. The next one is our main set, which is the Combat Physician. This drops in the in one of the dungeons, but it's the dungeon that's in the capital city of the Daggerfall Covenant. I can't remember the name right now. I'm a little out of it. Just woke up, so I do apologize. But it's a great set. 2-piece Max Magicka, 3-piece and 4-piece crit chance, and then the 5-piece. Whenever you critically heal yourself or an ally, you grant them you or the target a damage shield that absorbs 4k, almost 5k damage in 6 seconds, and it can happen every 6 seconds. So it's a really good kind of backup oh crap button. Last but not least, the set that makes the build work really good, Iskimir. Now, Iskimir, the reason I say it's a set that makes it work really good is it gives you an extra thing, a crit chance, more Max Magicka, and then the 4-piece, it adds weapon and spell damage, and the 5-piece really helps you with your damage overall because you are using an Ice Staff on the front bar, and this one adds 400 weapon and spell damage to your Frost damage abilities. Now, why it does the weapon damage, I don't know, because Frost damage only does Frost damage. So it only scales off of your spell damage unless the spell says otherwise. And then it can apply with the weapon damage. So it actually turns out being really good. And that's it for that. So let's go over traits and enchants, starting with the helm. We are running a heavy helm, reinforced tri-stat. This is just to give us extra resistances since the helm is heavy. With the reinforced, the tri-stats are there to give you a wider range of resources, so you're not just relying on magic all the time. That's one of the reasons why tri-stat food works so good for this build. On the chest, we're running Invigorating with the tri-stat, and we're also running that on the legs as well, the Invigorating tri-stat. The Invigorating is going to give you a little bit more recovery. The tri-stat, again, bridges out your stats to give you more, so you're not so, I don't want to say gimped, but you're not so lacking in that resource that when you block or dodge roll or something like that, you run out of resources faster. Alright, moving on to the smaller pieces. All the smaller pieces are Divines with Max Magicka. This is going to give you that greater Magicka pool, and the Divines are going to boost your Mundus Stone use, and it really plays well with this build. Alright, moving on to Jewelry now. We are running 2 Trirune Rings with spell damage on them. This is going to maximize your damage output, along with giving you that higher, again, stats in all pools, so you have that greater resource management with the blocking and dodge rolling and everything else. And then onto the necklace, Infused Mag Recovery. Now you can go with a Tri-Recovery here if you're a different race that has Mag Recovery or has some sort of Mag resource return, like Argonian or Breton. Other races, such as the Imperial, can play this really well because they get the 6% reduced cost in magic abilities. High Elf is pretty good because of their resource management, but still lacks that, and you still want to use a Mag Recovery on them. Some of the other races, not so good, so it's always best to have a full charged Mag Recovery here. Moving on to the weapons. Front bar, like I said, we are using an Iskimir Ice Staff. This is going to be really good because of how it works. It's a Ice Staff, it's just an Ice Staff, and this plays into the theme of this. So the Life Drain that we're using, the enchant deals magic damage and it gives us health back. That's going to help us stay alive. Not necessarily sustain, but stay alive, and that's going to help us out a lot. And then the next bar, we are using the Iskimir Resto Staff with a Infused Absorb Magic enchant, and that's because the heavy attack on this ticks 3 times with a final 4th hit. Well, it used to do 4, now it's just 3. But the 3 hits will trigger the first tick, or the light attack before this will trigger the first hit, and it'll give you the resource back. the magicka back, and then on the end hit it'll give you resources back. So it really plays into just maintaining a good amount of magicka coming in, even though you do have a 1782 mag recovery. And that is it for the weapons. So now we are going to move on to skills. And as always, I'm going to go over this first. Even if you aren't using skills, unlocking as many skills as you can access is going to be a greater benefit to you in the long run. Because you're going to be able to use more skills in more situations where it's needed. And then if it's not needed, you can just have it available to you on your, what I like to call your skill book or your spell book. You can access any of these spells or tools that you need to use whenever you need them. So it plays really well with that type of thing. Alright. So now, going over the skills we keep on our bar. Starting with the first one, we have Crushing Shock. Now, this does deal flame damage, frost damage, and shock damage on the activation of it. But it also has a really cool secondary effect, which enemies hit that are casting are interrupted, set off balance, and stunned for 3 seconds. It's a really good hard CC, but it's also really good in group play when you can do that. So really good skill to have on that front bar. Next up we have what's called Winner's Revenge. Now this one is a placeable, so you cast it, you place it, and it goes off. You conjure icy shards at the location, skewer the enemies in the area, dealing frost damage every second for 12 seconds. Enemies hit or overcome with bitter cold, reducing their movement speed by 30% for 3 seconds, and this ability has a higher chance of applying the chilled status effect, so it means you apply brittle. Brittle is really good because it gives the enemy minor vulnerability, increasing the damage they take. Next skill we have is Blockade of Frost. Another great ability because it's a large AoE area that puts down a layer of ice on the ground, dealing frost damage every second for 14 seconds, and applying a frosty safeguard to your allies for 6 seconds, and that absorbs up to 6k damage from projectiles. Chilled enemies become frozen and are immobilized for 4 seconds. Using an ice staff, you have a greater chance of applying chilled, but being a warden, you also get a greater chance of applying chilled with your own skills, and I believe it is the Glacier Presence. So increases your chance to chill an enemy with Winner's Embrace abilities by 200%, and enemies and allies who have been recently chilled take 10% more critical damage and healing from you. So it plays really well with this. Next skill we have is our Aoe Burst Heal, and that is Polar Wind. It will heal you instantly and an additional health every second, but it also heals a nearby ally for a blast amount that's up to 12 meters away, and while the effect persists, the wind's pulse dealing frost damage every 1 second to nearby enemies. The healing from this ability scales off your max health. So if you go with the Tristat, it's going to heal for more, and that's one of the reasons why I put the Tristat food in there. But it works really good the way it is. So it's not really something you have to do, but it does help. Next skill we have on our bar is a AoE damage, or not an AoE, it's a damage over time skill, but it has the ability to move between targets. So unleash the swarm of Fireflies, relentlessly attack an enemy, dealing 11k damage over 10 seconds. Every second cast of this ability deals 50%. Oh no, sorry, it just does that. And afflicting them with minor vulnerability, this for the duration, and increases the damage taken by 5%. So again, very much like minor with the brittle, this does the same thing, and it's a single target, so it helps out on bosses because you're not always going to get brittle on the bosses, but this definitely makes it to where that vulnerability is always there. Next skill we have, and this is an odd one for a healer, and that is the Eternal Guardian. So it's a bear that follows you around, and it does magic damage and extra magic damage over time, or not over time, but it does magic damage up front, and then it does other magic damage with another attack. But then it's also a ability that you can activate that deals more damage and even more damage below enemies below 25% health. So it's a really good skill to have. Really good for like increasing your damage output while you're healing. Moving on to the back bar, or healing bar. Starting with the first skill, we have rapid or radiating regeneration. This will heal up to you and 3 other targets over 19k over 10 seconds. Really good, really powerful. Can't say it enough. It works really good with this type of build. Next up, we have Blessing of Restoration. This is a really good one. You slam your staff down in front of you, healing you and your allies in front of you for a burst heal. And it also grants minor resolve, increasing everyone's physical resistance by 2974 for 16 seconds. So it's a great to keep your group alive, keep them stabilized. If you want to go with Combat Prayer, you can, but I like Blessing and Restoration because of the fact it puts that minor resolve on your group for a longer period of time. Next skill we have is Corrupting Pollen. Now this one, a lot of people are going to be like, but that is one that doesn't have the super auto activate. But it's fine because you got other heals you're going to be using. This is kind of like you set it down, you don't worry about it. So it summons a thing of flowers that bloom after 6 seconds, healing allies in the area for 10,000 health. Enemies who enter the field are affected by major defile, reducing their healing received by 16%. And then an ally in the field can activate the Harvest Synergy, healing for 10,000 health over 5 seconds. But that's not our only heal. We also have Lotus Blossom, which is a really good skill. So what you do is you embrace the Lotus Blessing, causing your light attacks to restore health and your fully charged heavy attacks to restore health to you or a nearby ally for 20 seconds. You also gain Major Prophecy, increasing your spell critical rating by 29 or 2629, which is roughly about 8k or 8%, sorry. Excuse me. But it works really well. Next skill, of course, Blue Betty. Really great skill. It restores Magicka over 25 seconds and grants you Major Brutality, Major Sorcery, increasing your weapon spell damage by 20%. And then every 5 seconds, the Netch removes 1 negative effect from you. And then, of course, we have our Eternal Guardian again, because it's on both bars. Now, if you wanted to, you could swap out for things like Permafrost on the ultimates, or the Green Balance Healing Thicket. It's really good skills. You can also swap out one of the Combat, or the Blessing of Restoration for Enchanted Growth, even though this is... I would say it's better for what it can do, because it does any target that's healed gains minor intellect and minor endurance, increasing their mag and stam recovery by 15% for 20 seconds. So you've got a choice there. You either give them extra survivability or you give them extra resource return. Both are really great skills. You also have the Nature's Embrace and Living Trellis. And if you want to go ham on the ice side, you also have Expansive Cloak, which is another way to give your group a buff for resistances. There are skills you can trade out for this, so it's up to you. It's a good skill for those really challenging, daunting dungeons or trials, so it's available. You also have the Crystallized Slab, which is a great damage shield. A little bit better, I hate to say, than the Ice Shield here, the Blockade of Frost, because it does only apply to you, though. So, but it will absorb up to 3 projectiles, and each time it absorbs one, you get Magicka back, and it deals frost damage. And then Frozen Retreat's another good one that is great for your allies. You put it underneath them in combat, and if they get 2 damage, they can teleport back to you, and it just helps out really, really well. When it comes to Destruction Staff, of course, you got Eye of the Storm, great AoE ice thing for the Destruction Staff. You've got the Destructive Reach, which is a great damage ability for damage up front and damage over time. You've got the Elemental Drain, which you can put on enemies, which puts the Major Breach on them, and then it gives minor Magicka Steal for 23 seconds. You've got Pulsar, which is a great AoE ice ability. On the Resto Staff, of course, you got Light's Champion, which is pretty good. It gives minor force to an ally for 8 seconds, increasing their critical damage. It's a super cheap ultimate, and it's a really powerful heal on it. Then you got the Illustrious Healing or Healing Spring kind of thing. This one just heals for more and for a longer time, and it's got a the same radius as the original Healing Spring, except it does heal for more. You've got the Ward Ally with the shield, and then of course the Siphon Spirit, which puts Life Steal and Magicka Steal on an enemy, which is also really good to have. Armor, we are wearing 5 light, so Harness Magicka is a great shield that you can get for if you want to tank a dungeon or just get some extra protection for yourself. World skills, Soul Magic, Soul Shatter, or Shatter Soul, great damage ability with area of effect damage, and it also has the immunity to disabling effects while you're channeling. Enemies affected by this ability are revealed for 3 seconds. Good for PvP, but also really good in PvE for the damage over time. And then you have Consuming Trap, which is a great resource return ability. It does do damage it does do damage over time. And then the damage dealt is based off your highest offensive stats. So in this case, your max magic and stuff. Pretty good. Of course, you have all these other abilities here as well, which can play into your character, or passives that play into your character when needed. Fighter's Guild, some good abilities here. You got the Dawnbreaker of Smiting, which is a great damage ability that you can do for up close if you need it. It's more of an AoE. Then you have the Silver Shards, which is also an AoE damage ability. You have the Ring of Preservation, which is an area of effect protection, plus minor endurance and a heal over time. And then you have the Camouflaged Hunter, which is really good if you want that higher weapon crit. It does give you the damage, or minor Berserk 2 for 5 seconds after you deal critical damage to an enemy from their flank. And then Lightweight Beast Trap is a great way to get minor force for yourself, because you can place it where you want it. Mage's Guild, you have the Ice Comet, we have the Radiant Mage Light, which is, it doesn't give you the Magicka, but it stops enemies from hitting you with a stun, and works really good in PvP. Still works in PvE as well. Structured Entropy, great damage and heal over time. Volcanic Ruin, great CC ability, and then Spell Symmetry is just a really good way to kind of reduce the cost of your abilities for 6 seconds, so if you need it. Cedric Order, we do have the Temporal Guard, great kind of like get out of jail free card button. It teleports you backwards, and then while slotted you do gain minor protection at all times. Borrowed Time's another great one to have. Enemies are that are stunned gain 5,000 heal absorption and for 3 seconds, negating the next 5,000 points of healing done. Really great for dungeon crawling, and even really good in PvP. Crushing Weapon is a great ability to have, especially for if you're playing solo and you're doing dungeons or delves or whatever. You can put this on your back bar for your Resto Staff to have a damage ability. And it is physical damage, which is also really good, and it puts Major Breach on the enemy for you for 5 seconds. Channeled Acceleration, really great way to get minor force for 36 seconds. And it also gives you the minor expedition, or major expedition, for 12. Min Spirit, great heal, great way of giving your group member the major resolve. So really good for that. And then of course Deep Thoughts, a great resource return. And of course don't forget about the passives. You get some great passives with some of these. Undaunted, Sanguine Altar, great way to give minor lifesteal to multiple targets. Tangling Webs is a great damage. Excuse me. Is a great area of effect damage skill that you can use. Also slows enemy targets. It's like the web spell from D&D. Enter Beast, great taunt if you need a taunt, if you're tanking. Spike Bone Shield, another great ability for damage mitigation. And it works really good for you as a tank, but not so good for you in a group situation so much. I mean, it does have a synergy, but it's not as good as the other morph for that. And then, of course, we have the Energy Orb, which lets you throw an orb out, and it heals you and your allies, and then it's also a synergy for resource return. Assault Line, Warhorn, really good for having in dungeons, trials, you know, if you need it. Echoing Vigor, great heal over time. Area of Effect heal over time. And then Razor Caltrops. Now, this isn't going to heal for as much as it could if you had more stamina and more spell weapon damage. So, using the Tri-Food when you use this is really good. This is a great way to get the Major Breach, but it also deals damage over time and reduces movement speed for the duration. Support side, we have Reviving Barrier. Great oh crap button. That's all I want to say. Cleanse, great way to remove negative effects from your allies and also heal them for a 5% of their max health. And then Mystic Guard is a really good skill to have for buffing somebody's healing received. So, being a Wood Elf, we get special passives. Excuse me, didn't mean to cough in your ear. We have Hunter's Eye, which gives you increased stealth detection, good for PvP. It increases your movement speed by 5% and your physical and spell penetration by 950. That's pretty good. It's almost 1,000 extra pin right out the door. You have Freeze Endurance, increases your stam recovery by 258, and then Resist Affliction gives you the stam recovery, or increased max stamina, sorry, and then it gives you the disease and poison resistance, which is really powerful in certain situations. Crafting, alchemy, medicinal use, and then provisioning, gourmet, and connoisseur. Alright, so I want to talk a little bit about the skills in, or the way this build plays and why I made it this way, before I talk about CP. So I based this off of a character from a D&D group that live streams. And one of the characters' name is Keyleth. She is a druid of nature. She isn't a druid. She uses a lot of like abilities to polymorph herself into different animals, or what's called a beast shape or animal shape, where they can take on the form of different things. She takes on a lot of elemental forms more than she does animal forms. But there was a time and place when she would turn into a bear, and when she would, she could talk to the bear in the group named Trinket. So I just thought it was a really cool idea to have the bear in here. The other thing about it is the elemental, since we don't have a lot of fire, lightning, and all that we can put on a warden, really, unless we have the staves, which I was thinking about doing. I decided to go with the ice staff instead, because it plays more into how a druid works. Druids have a lot of spells that entangle enemies in vines, entangle enemies in stone, or grab them with stone, making it harder for them to move, and this kind of plays into that same idea or functionality. It's a really good setup when you play it and you see how it plays. So, but other than that, I mean, it's here to be fun. So it's a fun build. All right, moving on to our champion points. And again, I do use similar champion points for everything. I would go over everything in the tree, but to be honest, the best way I can say it is unlock as many passives as you can while unlocking these skills in the beginning until you get to 3600, and then just build out into everything so you can play every role with that one character. So, starting with the green tree, we have Professional Upkeep. Really good. You can also go, somebody said you can, hey, Sherman, remind people they can also go with the, where is it? Treasure Hunter, which increases the type of treasure you can get from treasure chests. That is a really good one. And it's something that you could get rid of Professional Upkeep with if you're doing, like, overland stuff. But dungeons and trials, especially if you're doing veteran mode or you're doing hard mode, you're going to have a greater chance of people dying. So having a reduced cost is really good. But you can easily just swap it out too. Next up, Steed Blessing. Great for movement speed. Out of combat movement speed per stage. And it works really well. So Next up, we have the liquid efficiency. Whenever you use a potion, you have a 10% chance to not consume it. Rationer adds 10 minutes to your food per stage, so 30 minutes. On the blue tree, or the warfare, we have Salve of Renewal. Whenever you remove a harmful effect from yourself or an ally, you sanctify the ground beneath them and heal them and allies within 8 meters for 1,433 health per stage. This effect can occur once every 10 seconds. Remember, we have the blue netch. It will remove negative effects from us all the time. When it does, it's going to heal the allies around us. Next up, we have Focus Mending. This increases your healing done by 2% per stage, so 10% healing done. Then we have Swift Renewal, which increases your healing done by another 10%. And then we have the Soothing Tide, which increases your healing done by 10%. Moving on to the red tree and fitness. First skill we have is Rejuvenation. This gives us the increased health, magic, and stamina recovery. It's not much, but it helps. Next up, we have Sustained by Suffering. Increases your health, stamina, and mag recovery by 30 points per stage, so 150 health, magic, and stamina recovery. Whenever you're under the effects of negative or of a negative effect. So even though you'll be cleansing negative effects, this just gives you a way of getting resource return better. Then you have Refreshing Stride. While sprinting, you gain 100 health and magicka per stage, so 500 health and magicka whenever you sprint. And then Spirit Mastery decreases the time it takes you to resurrect an ally by 33%. This is great. On top of that, you will have this one, the Temporal Soul, or Tempered Soul, return to life with increased stats, so they will get 100 or 10% more resources when you recover them, which makes it easier for them to stay alive after they've been resurrected. Alright, champion points are done, everything else is done. I would show this build in action, but to be honest, it works really good. Anyone who plays a healer normally in this game would see the use of this build and its functionality. It's it's part healer, part damage dealer. I mean, you can't go wrong, and it works out really well in group play. It works really well in trial play. Just overall, it's going to work really well for everything. And I would personally like to play a build like this on the live server, so I am making a build like this on the live server and going to be playing it because I like the idea of it. So it seems like a really fun build. Other than that, that's pretty much it for the build, and I hope you guys like it. So, you know what that leads to. If you guys like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos by me, you can subscribe. If you do subscribe, I do suggest you click that notification bell to be notified when I post new videos. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and this guy might see you in game. Bye.